Yeah.
that no words are the best words.
Right.
I've learned, as you shared
That's
with
so
Brother
true.
Anderson, is to be present.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally watched her die. And at that moment when she did die, and in the processing of dying, I didn't have any faith. I didn't have any hope. I didn't have any love. I didn't have God in my life. My experience with my mom, to me, was hell, pure hell.
Oh, yeah.
That was like my claim to fame.
Okay.
Bartender, pool shark, convent, none.
Okay.
I
Oh,
mean, they
sure.
call me Sister Death. And 9 out of the 10 times, they would either die in front of me, be there with their
Wow.
hands, not even knowing them, but having someone present. Or when I left, I would get a call like within the 24 hours, oh, sister, they passed away peacefully.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mark from Samaritan's Well, and welcome to the Soul Sense podcast. We have a special guest today, Gina Economopoulos. She is a certified, now listen to this, a certified end-of-life doula. She's also a motivational speaker, and she's written a book called Shake the Dust Off Your Feet and Walk. I love that title, Gina. Welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you, Mark. It's good to be here, and welcome to all the listeners.
Thank you so much. Gina, tell us a little bit about this. I mean, I didn't even know these existed. A certified end-of-life doula. Tell us about how you got into that, a little about your story, because you must have a unique story that led you to that.
That is totally correct. And to be honest with you, Mark, about 3 years ago, I did not know what an end-of-life doula was.
Okay.
So you're not alone in that. A friend of mine had shared with me 3 years ago and saying, hey, because she knows that I love being with the dying. And in my past experience, I've had been with many people who have died. And it was just a joy and a pleasure just to be with them.
Isn't it? It's sacred.
It's a very sacred place. It's an honor, and it's a gift to help someone just transition from this life to the next.
Yes.
And that's how I learned about that. I could be certified. I was like, wow. And so, of course, I took a course online, and I had a mentor too. And it was, the course was pretty easy for me because I was very comfortable. I'm very comfortable to be with those who are dying, whereas many people aren't, and it's not at their fault of their own.
Right.
I just know that it's just from my own experience. That's where I am today. But I was not always like this. About 33 years ago, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. I was 23 years old. I was a bartender. I was not a practicing churchgoer.
Sure.
I was raised Catholic.
Okay.
My ambition back then was to get married and have kids and, live life to the fullest.
Sure.
But during that time, when my mom was diagnosed, I happened to be at home, to be with her. Out of 8 kids, to be home with her and my dad. And I literally watched her die.
Oh, wow.
And in so many ways, because she had bone cancer, was terminally ill. When I heard that, I was like, what's terminally ill? I didn't know.
Right.
I mean, I know about death and everything, but it never was so close to me watching my mother die at the age of 23, where I need my mom. And I always felt like, why me, God? Why me? Why me? And I always felt sorry for me. But needless to say, my mom did pass away. And at that moment when she did die, and in the processing of dying, I didn't have any faith. I didn't have any hope. I didn't have any love. I didn't have God in my life. God was there. It wasn't like I didn't believe in him, but I didn't have that relationship with God or with heaven or someplace better than this. So when you don't have those 4 things, and my experience with my mom, to me, was hell, pure hell.
Oh, yeah.
And that to me, what hell is on earth when you don't have those 4 things. So I was just like, okay, mom died. I'm lost. What the heck? Everyone kept kept saying that she's with God. Who is God?
Right.
I mean, my parents were devoted. We were raised Catholic, but
You just
it
had a
just was never.
question mark.
Yeah, there was just not a connection. Like I didn't really need him. I was living maybe in the world sense and up in the 80s, trying to
Sure.
fit into friends' life, in my own skin, so to speak. And so after she died, I went searching. What is the meaning of God? What is who is God? What is heaven? And that's where I came back to my Catholic roots.
Okay.
I mean, this didn't happen all of a sudden. It was through a
It was
lot of
gradual.
tears, searching, questioning, crying, you name it, going to the back into the church, going back to my sacraments, and the
Mhm.
resurrection.
Oh,
There's
wow.
Jesus.
Wow.
And so in that, I went from one extreme of living like a Sodom and Gomorrah
Okay.
to the other extreme, saying I joined the convent. I said, this is it. This is what God wants me to be, is to
So did you
be
have
in
to
the
stop
convent.
being a bartender to join the convent?
No, but that was like my claim to fame.
Okay.
Bartender, pool shark, convent, nun,
Okay.
Franciscan.
That's so funny.
So and I was like, yeah, that's it. And
Uh-huh.
once again, yes, I believed in God, and yes, I knew her. Now I'm beginning a relationship with God,
Okay,
a
okay.
heart to heart. I married him. I was in the convent for 12 years.
Oh,
So
12
how can
years,
you?
my goodness, yeah.
So it's like, this is it. Once again, I'm thinking this is my life.
Sure.
And then, of course, 12 years later, I got kicked out, which
Uh-oh.
is a story in itself. And
Okay.
that's what's in my book too.
Okay.
But getting back to being an end of life doula, during my sisterhood, I really had the taste of heaven, where heaven is. I had and one person that I truly admire was Mother Teresa.
Oh,
I
yeah.
met her a couple of times,
Oh,
and
wow.
sh and her motto was like, everyone has the dignity to die.
Yes.
Give them the dignity and respect to die.
Yes.
And gradually, that seed within me of finding what heaven is, tasting heaven in different ways. Wow! So that seed grown, where for some reason, I look back in hindsight, God had used me because I was with many people at their bedside as a nun.
Wow. Oh, as a nun, of course.
When they died. I
Oh,
mean, they
sure.
would call me Sister Death, and I'm talking about people of all denominations.
Mhm.
They didn't have to be Catholic, but people
Right.
would call me, say, "Hey, sister, could you go see Johnny's neighbor, whatever,
Oh,
whatever?" And I
yeah.
would go and I would pray because, wow, in my heart, of course, I don't tell them that, but in my heart, you're going to see Jesus. You're going to hug Jesus. You're going to
Yeah,
see God. And that was like a passion. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
this is great. And let me help you to see him. And so that's what I did. I would go pray with them. And 9 out of the 10 times they would either die in front of me, be there with their
Wow.
hands, not even knowing them, but having someone present. Or when I left, I would get a call like within the 24 hours. Oh, sister, they passed away peacefully.
Wow.
And and
Peacefully.
I yeah, and so I'm just like, that was just part of me. It became part of me because
Wow.
I knew what hell was like when I didn't have no faith and
Okay.
no hope. And then having faith and hope and love and having a God in my life, a heaven, knowing that there is an eternal place, eternal bliss,
Yeah.
wherever from this life, tasting it, experiencing, growing it. It's like, yeah, I would love to help others to go from this life to them.
Yes.
And and so I was at numerous bedside from all ages as a nun. And then when I left, when I got kicked out of the convent, that continued to stay with me. Not that I
Okay.
was putting it first for it, but God would put people in my life to go visit or whatever. And I have no problem. I have no problem
You
like
just
you
did it
sitting
freely.
by a bedside. What's that?
You did it freely. It's just like the Lord
It just
opened doors.
naturally. Yeah.
The Lord opened all the doors.
Yeah, and now, fast forward 3 years ago, somebody says, you could use this as a service, and you could get paid for it, and that kind
Sure.
of still like, I'm like, I could really, I would have been rich by now.
Oh, I get it. Yes.
but money is not, just
No.
being present, being that instrument.
Mhm.
Um, you know, and so I did. I got certified. I put myself out there, and people call me. I know it's from God. Okay, what do you want? And of course, every person is different.
Right.
Every faith is different.
Uh-huh.
I don't go in there to push my faith or my
Sure.
thoughts. I What I do is I put aside me, and I put on my doula shoes, one would say, and I try to listen to the best of my ability, having God's spirit through me say, and just just look and observe what's needed, and then also listen not only to the person who's dying, but to their caregivers, to their families. What do you want? What do you need? And then I let it go. I'm more of like a listening ear,
Mhm.
and if I feel inspired or to say something, or if they ask me a question about
Sure.
my own faith or belief or why I do this, I would share with them. It's my heart.
Absolutely.
It's it's
Absolutely.
it's just a passion, and it's a gift. And I do understand, like you had mentioned earlier, where family members would come, and then they can't maybe be in that room.
Yeah.
They and I saw that in my own family when my mom died. When
Okay.
my mom passed away. Granted, I didn't have any faith or no hope. Granted, it was so painful, but for some reason, I was always there with her.
Yeah.
I was always there, holding her hand, doing what I could, and also during that time with my mom, I tried everything, Mark, everything to keep her alive, everything. But she
Oh,
had bone
wow.
cancer,
Bone
terminally
cancer.
ill.
Oh
And
my.
so in 5 months when she died, in hindsight, not right then and there, I was so angry with life, God,
Mhm.
dark place. Um, I was like, I thought I had, my mom in the palm of my hands. Like I controlled her.
Oh, sure.
And I just saw God's will, of because that was my mom's story. That was her plan. And I do believe, my mom died for many reasons. I believe in
Right.
that, and suffered for many reasons that I will never know because it's a mystery.
Mhm.
And but yet my personal is that she brought me back to Jesus
Oh.
the first time around, that first time, to
Oh,
help me to see.
that's so good,
So
Gene. That is so good. It is such a we talked about even before we started the podcast of what a reverent thing it is to be with someone when they pass. And yet, of course, it's a personal choice. And sometimes even the person that's dying, sometimes they prefer to be alone. I know that my first experience with being in the presence of someone dying, it was my brother-in-law's dad. I knew he was pretty serious. He was in the hospital, and I was about to go to sleep at 10 o'clock with my wife. This is 20 plus years ago, probably. And I'm like, something tells me I need to go up and be at the hospital. And so got my clothes on. I get up there at about 10:30, and I think one of the sisters was leaving, so my brother-in-law was just there, and we're just sitting with him. And right around midnight, probably within 30 to 60 minutes of me being there, he passed. And it was a holy moment. It was a
it
reverent
is.
moment. And it was the same way with my mother. I'd went up from Dallas to Arkansas. She was in hospice. My sister had told me she's pretty bad. We sat with her that Thursday night I came, and I stayed all night with her, and she made it through Friday. And then about 10 after 9 on Friday evening, I'm sitting there alone with her in the hospice center. Everything's real quiet. And my wife calls up and says, "Oh, daughter Joy wanted to check on grandma and see how she's doing." And I look over and I see her take her last breath.
Yeah.
And I knew she was gone. I knew she was with the Lord. And there was this serenity, this peace. And I think I told you, interestingly, that we have this podcast. I was sitting with my father in law just Saturday night. Today's Wednesday when we're recording this. And Saturday night at about 10 after 8, I look over, he's on hospice. We know it's his last days. And my mother-in-law is across the room asleep. She just went to sleep, and I'm sitting there just with him, and he takes his last breath. And so those are my three experiences. All of them have been very peaceful, very sacred. I would say
Yeah.
sacred, Gina. Could you tell
And
us
that,
about?
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know, I'm sorry to interrupt, but just listening to you sharing that, I could just imagine being there, and
Yeah.
it's like heaven opened up, and
Yes.
that peace. And that's where sometimes I do experience when I'm with people. Not that I know when they're going to die.
Oh, I know.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm thinking, yeah, they're going to die
Sure.
today. It's such and
Sure.
such birthday. You know what
Sure.
I mean? This is
Sure.
it. I got this.
Sure.
And I've learned that. I've learned that I don't know. God
No.
could come
You don't.
anytime. The doctors and the nurses, of course, the medical could say, yes, it could be 24 hours, and it could be,
Mhm.
but yet in the spiritual sense, I'm just like, wow. But then I also sometimes when I'm with someone, I can experience like such a peace before they even take their last breath,
Really?
like a heaven. They're getting ready, heaven is opening
Wow.
up. And sometimes, like, recently in the last year, I was at I wasn't directly at her bedside, but I was with her, and her husband had died like 2 years prior, and I just felt his presence. Yeah, and
Oh,
just his presence, and
like
I
they
just,
were
when
about to
it
be together again.
exactly. And
Wow.
I mean, is it's a mystery. I mean, it's just what I've experienced, and it's that peace. But as you shared, and I am sorry about recently your father-in-law. My prayers are with you
Yeah.
and your wife and the whole family.
Thank you.
Um, that I just experienced that peace that you were just sharing with me. Like,
Yes.
that heavenly bliss being
Yes.
there, even though I wasn't there.
Thank you
So
so
thank
much.
you.
Thank you so much. Tell us a couple of stories that have stood out over the years. It's so, you're in such a unique position to have been with so many people near their last moments or in their last moments. What are two or three stories that really stand out to you over the years, Gina?
Yeah, when I was a nun back in 2000,
Okay.
my uncle, who I was very close with, uh, had a heart attack, had a triple heart attack, and so I
Okay.
had the permission to go be with him by his bedside, and I'm with
Sure.
him. And at that time, my dad was alive, and of course, his kids were there, and I would be talking to him, Uncle Jim, and here I'm dressed as a nun, full
Sure.
fledged,
Sure.
and so I had the gift in talking to him and sharing with him, saying, "Are you ready?" Because he didn't want anything else, and the
Okay.
doctor didn't know, like he didn't want any other, he had the tubes, he's trying to get the tubes off. And I said to him, and this was my first time, I said, Uncle, you're gonna meet Jesus soon. And he's Greek, my Greek Orthodox. He's on the
Okay,
Greek
Greek.
side. And he said, he just shook his head. Yes, yes. Now, mind you, my cousins and the other people, I had to be careful of what I was talking to him about.
Okay, I get it.
So I couldn't say, oh, you die, and of
Sure.
course, they don't. Nobody wants anyone to die, their loved
Sure.
ones. Even if with faith, you don't want
Sure.
anyone to leave this life.
Right.
But I had such a great opportunity, and then I went back to visit him again, like a couple of days later, and
Okay.
he was still going, and we were talking, and he asked me, he goes, how long has it been for your mom? And I said, it's been 8 years. And he knew how tough it was for
Oh,
me
wow.
with my mom. And I said, and in tears, I'm saying, Uncle Jim, give her a big hug from me, like I was.
Oh.
And he goes, I will. And then the next day I went back, and now ironically, it was the night before my birthday. And I said to him, I said, Uncle, tomorrow is my birthday. I said, feel free to die on my birthday,
Oh,
because you'll be experiencing a new life. And it was the same hospital. I was born in this hospital, and he was in that hospital. And sure enough, the next day I get there, and he had
oh my
already died. His son was with him, shaving him. He had a beautiful
oh,
death. I was able to be with him after his last breath. But to me, that was that's a gift to
Yes.
share and to have,
Yes.
because he was my best friend here, and I was able to help him go to heaven in such a special way. With my mom, I couldn't, because with my mom, I was trying to keep her here for me. So yes, that's one of many. And then the most recent one, or in the last year, I was some girlfriend of of this gentleman that was dying, called me and said, my boyfriend would like to see you with your end of life doula service.
Oh,
And so
wow.
I did, and I spent like an hour with him. We had a great conversation. I just, I don't didn't know him, but he shared a little bit, and we had, one to one, heart to heart conversation. And I mean, once again, I thought maybe he'd be around for a few weeks, and so after that, he says, I'll get back to you, and we'd love to have you come more often, because that's what I normally do, a come and see.
Sure.
You come and see, this is what my service is, what would you like?
Sure.
And we go from there. Well, the next, and I was like, praying for him and everything. And the next day I didn't hear from him, which I thought I would.
Mhm.
And then the day after that, I got a beautiful text from his girlfriend, said, "Oh, Mike had passed away yesterday. And just
Oh,
know that your presence there truly gave him peace."
oh,
Okay, I did my job. You know what I
yes.
mean? I
You
Not my
did what
job,
you're
my
supposed
love,
to
what
do.
God wanted me to do for his soul. And so that's it. I mean, of course, there's others that I've been to and going to funerals, wakes, like, to believe
Yes.
it or not, I don't mind going to wakes and funerals. It's like, they're there. There's such a peaceful
Well, praise
presence.
God. And the Lord clearly has anointed you. He's gifted you with this special ability to be with people in that sacred time.
Yes.
A few of the verses that I know you're familiar with, but I just wanted to share a couple. Psalm 116:15 is one of the most popular. It says, "Precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints." And then in 2 Corinthians 5:8, it says, "We're confident, yes, well pleased rather, to be absent from the body and to be present with the Lord." Philippians 1:21, "For to me to live is Christ and to die is gain." Um, and um, and here's one, Revelation. We don't think about maybe verses from Revelation, Revelation 14:13. "Then I heard a voice from heaven saying to me, Right, blessed are the dead who die in the Lord from now on. Yes, says the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors and their works follow them." So there's so many great verses about how precious and how special it is to the Lord, that transition. Traditionally, it would be called going over the Jordan River, right?
Yeah.
Crossing over
I never
Jordan.
heard of that. That's true.
Yeah,
Wow.
crossing over Jordan. And I think one
Wow.
of the reasons we get that picture of like crossing over the river is from the Pilgrim's Progress. For hundreds of years,
Yeah.
the two books that Christians around the world would have is the Holy Bible and Pilgrim's Progress.
Marvelous.
And in Pilgrim's Progress, that's the last obstacle that he faces to get to the celestial city, is crossing that river of death. And
Yeah.
for some, it was harder and it was took more faith. And for some, it was like walking, through shallow water. And I'm sure
Mhm.
you've seen that. It's been easier for some and harder for others, isn't it, Gina?
It, it's so true, Mark. Everything you're saying, because it's like, what I've come to learn and believe. God is behind it all.
Yes.
Like, it's His story for that soul.
Yes.
It's His story that unfolds, and it's His grace. It's
Yes.
totally grace, because some are like, yeah, I can't wait to go home, like, let's go, take me now, take me
Right.
now. And then there's others that have fear and trepidation, and that's normal. That's like a normal, healthy response, because
Absolutely.
we don't know what the unknown is. I mean, with all the people I've been with, and usually at their end, where they're just listening.
Yes.
They always listen, whether maybe they're not talking now, they're not eating, they're not
Mhm.
moving, but they're listening.
That's
So
the
if
last
I
thing
have
to
the
go, isn't it? They can hear.
yes,
That's the
they can
very last thing
very
to go,
less
they can hear.
yes.
We need to
And because
remember.
some people say, oh no, they don't. And so if I had that opportunity with that person, I would whisper into their ears, give a hug to Jesus, give a hug
Oh,
to my mom and my
yes.
dad, all
Yeah.
those that I love. You know, this is so precious. This is like so, yes. And also, I would say, let me know what heaven's like. Come down. No one has come down to let me know.
You can still ask. You have not because
Of
you have
course.
not.
Of course, I mean, like, I remember this 96-year-old lady before I entered the convent. I was with her,
Mhm.
and I was happened to be with her. I joined the convent. I was a postulant. I got a call that she was dying,
Okay.
so I got the permission to go be with her, and I'm praying by her side, and then she had like a second life, and I was like, okay, I had to go back to the convent, and then a few
Whoa.
days later, the daughter-in-law called me. He says, "This is it. Mary's going. That's it."
Okay.
So once again, I got another permission to go
Uh-huh.
be with her. And at this point, um, she wasn't talking, moving, drinking, eating, and all
Yeah.
that. And I prayed the Divine Mercy Chaplet. And during that time, because in that chaplet, we ask mercy upon our souls. And it's the
Okay.
greatest prayer. It's a Catholic prayer, but it's the
Okay.
greatest prayer to pray when somebody's dying.
Oh,
Is you
good.
asking for mercy on their souls,
Yes.
have mercy on
Yes.
us. And during that chaplet, she died. She passed away. She was like my buddy. And I did say to
Oh,
her beforehand, Mary, because we would always talk about, she always had to cross her T's and dot her I's. I said, okay, Mary, if you go before me, you let me know how it is. And if I go before you, and meanwhile, she was in her 80s at the time,
right,
I'll let you know. And she's like, and of course, she passed away before I did. And
right.
I still, it's been like close to 30 years or before, and she still hasn't come to me. But at the same time, what I could do in my own prayer, my own meditation is to go into my own heart and
Yes.
peace and realm like heaven is within us. That's what I've
Yes.
learned
The kingdom
too.
of God is within you. Jesus said that
Yes.
clearly. The kingdom
Yeah.
of God is within you.
And I believe that's our purpose and our journey in this life is to be living, heaven on earth here
That's
in
right.
our hearts, in that kingdom
That's right.
within us, in that peace.
That's right.
And that takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of grace, and also openness
Yeah.
to open your heart up and say, you know what, God, come into my heart. Let me experience you. Let me
That
experience it. And when you're in that meditation state, or when you're in that prayerful state, however it is, because it could be someone who's praying in a church, it could be someone praying in the mountains, it could be anywhere that somebody's comfortable with their relationship, their heart to heart with God, to invite God into your mind, body, and soul. And
yes.
even if it's for 2 seconds, to have that peace, that's like an everlasting peace. And
Absolutely.
it's just, so when things get rough on the outside, go inside. Okay, God, the kingdom of, like you said, like the scripture, like God, Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is within each one of us. The kingdom of heaven is with the children. Your heart has to be childlike and all that. And it's just,
That's
it's a journey, and it's a story for each one of
that's
us. And
beautiful, Gina. That's beautiful. And we think about it, if the thief on the cross in his last few moments on earth could surrender to Christ, could call Jesus Lord, and then be with him in paradise that day. Jesus said, "Today you'll be with me in paradise." How, I mean, we should consider that those people that are on their deathbeds, even in a moment, they could surrender, they could humble themselves, they could say, Jesus, I accept your blood covering, I accept your life and death for me, I believe in your resurrection, and I surrender to you. Gina, one of my favorite end of life stories a pastor told, and he got this. He was a part of the story, but then this man's daughter told him the rest of it. And he had come to visit this. I think the daughter of this dying man who was at home, probably in hospice, and he went to visit him, and in the course of talking, he said, I've always been frustrated. I just don't know how to pray. I believe in God, but I don't know how to pray. And so the pastor did something I thought was ingenious. It was, I'm sure led by the Spirit. He said, I'm going to set an empty chair up by your bed, and we're going to keep this here. And anytime that you want to, I want you to just picture the carpenter is in that chair, and you can say anything you want to him. That's how I want you to pray over these next few days. And he left him, and I don't know if he got to see him again before he passed. It was a few weeks later, I think. But the daughter at the funeral said several times in those last few weeks, I would approach the room and hear him talking to Jesus in the chair.
Yeah.
And it's such a simple thing, but
I know.
for us to be able to tell those people, he's right there. He's a very present help in time of need, Gina.
Yeah. I've been with people. One would say it's like a bedside conversion.
Yes.
Like, who am I to say what's in their heart?
Right.
Who am I to say what God thinks of them? I mean, who am I? Because some people maybe, under circumstances in their own life might not have been introduced to God in a way that is angry with life. I mean, because things do happen.
Yes,
And
they
people may
do.
be in an environment growing up like, oh, I hate this, I hate this, I hate, whatever. And then at the moment of their last breath, who am I to say that they didn't reach out to God?
Right.
I mean, I totally agree with you and believe with you that God has mercy upon us all.
Yes.
And I do believe, because I know, I'm not downgrading or anything about Christianity, Catholics, who's
Sure.
great or who's not.
Sure.
It doesn't matter, because what matters is your own personal relationship with God. And if you don't have one, God's going to put someone in their life,
Yes.
even if it's their last moment of breath, because
Yes.
God saves us all. And and I
Yes.
do believe that. And yet I've been at bedsides where when I was a nun, I remember there was a gentleman, his name was Francis, and
Right.
young guy, and he had a hard life, homeless and everything. And so I went to go visit him and just pray. And he knew Jesus, he knew God, but yet I could sense the presence of evil. I sensed the soul
There's
that,
something there, some kind of darkness.
darkness, like an
That he
evil
was
thing.
wrestling.
And so it's like, throw out the holy water, get the rosary beads, bless the mother, come, bless the mother. And then when he took his last breath, there was that peace.
Oh.
Aha. And I know in my heart, God has each one of us, no matter where you are, who you are, what you believe in, what you don't believe in. We all have that same blood. We're all the blood of Christ. We all the children of God.
Jesus said, if I be lifted up, I will draw all men to me. I'll draw all men to me. Now, Gina, have you talked about losing your uncle and your mother? There been any other family members? I suppose you lost your dad at some point.
I did. I lost my dad, but before I lost my dad, I lost my fiance back in 2013, March of 2013. And that's where, I mean, when I left the convent, I met Danny about a few years later, thinking, okay, this is my life here.
Sure.
I'm still with God, still trying to figure out why did I, what happened at the convent? What does God want of me? What's my purpose?
Sure.
I meet Danny. He happened to be an alcoholic, and that too is in my book. It talks about my journey with him.
That's part of your story.
That's part of my story. And he ended up dying from the disease. And his story is tragic in itself. And it became my story too. And so when he died, I gave up, Mark. I gave up on life and everything. I was so tired because at this time I feel like I kept getting knocked down, and then I would just
Okay.
keep pushing forward. Even, I mean, yes, God was with me, and I believed in God because I married him. But like,
Right.
but I also felt rejected by him after leaving the convent. So after Danny died, I did another searching. Instead of going into back to the church, I went into the rooms of AA. And
Okay.
in that, I come to find out that I'm an alcoholic. So I
Okay.
have 10 years of sobriety
Good
now.
for
But
you.
back then, that totally flipped me upside down because I really had a spiritual connection with God. I
Wow.
hated God at one time when I went in,
Yep.
after finding Danny dead a month before our wedding day, I
Boy.
was like, so here, a new life, a new God, a new relationship.
Hmm.
So, and I have a program, I'm still part of the program. And now, I mean, I have not only God in a spiritual way, but in more other ways with the scriptures, like my heart is totally open. And that's when I started becoming an end of life doula certified. It's like,
Oh,
wow, I'm totally open in my heart. And in that, my father did die back in 2016. And when
okay.
I did get that call, instead of going into the most negative, hopeless, because he died of a heart attack at Milwaukee Airport with my two other siblings.
Oh, so
I
just
mean, it was
suddenly.
suddenly 89 years old. But I happened to see him like that weekend before. So I say I have a new perspective today, with grief. And so when my father died, what did I do? I went to a meeting. I talked about it. I cried because I did a lot of crying in my life. Tears are my
Wow.
best friend, but I've learned that it's okay to cry.
Yeah.
I've learned it's okay to be angry. It's okay to
Yes.
feel whatever you're feeling. And
Yes.
so that's what the program of AA has given me, and as well as God now, because now it's more God in my life, that it's like, wow, I finally found who I am within my heart. I finally
Wow.
find that freedom to be me and be able to help others in their circumstances, the dying, or maybe, and I know so many people who have lost just recently their sons and daughters, they have passed away, and just to be their presence afterwards, as a friend, as someone who, like, oh, I understand, but I can't, I'm here for you. And so, yeah, so today, thank God everyone is healthy in my life today. I'm
Good.
hoping that, I do have a boyfriend presently, Brian, best thing in my life. I know Danny brought Brian. I know God brought him in my life. I live a happy, joyous, and free life within. But who I'm still human. So
Yes.
even on my own deathbed, I don't know if I'm going to say, "Yeah, I can't wait to go."
I know.
I
I
don't know.
know. Yeah.
I
We're
mean,
going to
I
have
would
to
hope
just
so.
navigate that by faith, aren't we?
Exactly, and grace.
Yep.
I believe it's grace and it's life's lessons. It's something that God wants to teach. So
Yes. Absolutely. It's going to have to be faith and grace, Gina, for all of us. And one
exactly.
of my heroes, you mentioned something about you we've talked about a lot of examples of we talked about a lot of examples of being with people in those last moments, those last days. One of my favorite stories that puts it into perspective is from one of my heroes, Neil Anderson, great author and teacher. He's retired now, but he tells a story about when he first became a pastor. He moved into this town and this church. Probably within the first 2 weeks, he gets this emergency call. uh, this 19-year-old or something like that had been in a terrible motorcycle accident. They were members of the church, so he rushes over to the ER and to the hospital, and he feels like he doesn't know what to say because it's such a heavy thing. They're operating on him. It's life or death, life or death. He's just sitting with mom and dad for several hours, and then the tragic news comes like at 3 a.m. He did not make it. And so he sits with them there for another hour or two, but he went home, I'm sure exhausted, but honestly feeling like a failure. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do or even how to pray. All I did was just sit there like a lump on the log. Well, it happened to be, of course, they had to do the funeral and everything, sadly, but it happened to be that they were in the midst of moving. So he didn't get a chance really to see them for the next 6 months. But he was going into a breakfast place about 6 months later, and this man and his wife are coming out and they bump into him and they say, Brother Anderson, we never got a chance to tell you, but it meant so much for you to be with us that night that our son died.
Yeah.
And he goes, honestly, I thought I failed because I didn't know what to say or how to pray. And they said, no, just being there meant
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. That,
Is that true,
that,
Gina? Have you
that
experienced that? You don't have to
yeah.
say something magical. You just
No.
be there.
That is totally true. I thank you for sharing that story, because once again, it really pierces my heart, because it's so true.
Yeah,
And even afterwards, there's no words to tell somebody how to grieve, what to say.
right,
I mean, even with your family that's going through it,
right.
it's like you can't say A, B, C, D. I
No,
can't say, oh yeah. I can't even say I understand, because
that's right.
this is your, it's just something that I've learned. And I've learned
Yeah,
that no words are the best words.
right.
I've learned, as you shared
That's
with
so
Brother
good.
Anderson, is to be, just to be present.
That's so good.
Just to be present. Whether you say, I mean, sometimes if I am present, if I don't have any words or don't know how to pray, if I know
Yeah,
how to pray,
yeah,
God just use me. And then it's so true, because afterwards you're like, and we will never know what we've done or touched anyone. Like, I was a nun for 12 years.
yeah.
The greatest gift that was is that I was helping people, like and all,
Yes,
the poor, whoever. I don't know how many people I've touched. I don't know what word I might have said, or what rosary I prayed with. I mean, and I would I like to know, maybe if God wants to show me, like he showed Brother Anderson,
yes,
running into the people.
yes,
I have to be open. But I do know, and this is my own belief, my own view, is that
yes.
when I die, I'll see them, I'll see my whole life,
That's right.
and I'll look at my tapestry and I'll be like, that's why. Ah,
Yes,
and not only myself, helping others, but them helping me, getting me
yes,
through that day, not even realizing that it was their smile, it was their words at that moment I needed to survive. Because when Danny died, I was in such a dark time
oh,
that I
yes.
did not want to live. I wanted
Yeah,
to die, but I would
yeah.
never kill myself.
Right.
And I was like, I was done with life, simply existing, no smile, no
Mhm.
enthusiastic, nothing. I thought my purpose was to suffer pain.
Wow.
I'll take the pain,
Right.
bring it on, like that. But then, yet having another conversion, because it seems like in my whole life, it's these mini conversions. And as I was praying about being on your show here and thinking, about my life and where I was and where I am today, it reminds me of the scripture where the blind man goes up to Jesus and says, "Help me to see." And Jesus spits a little bit, and
Mhm.
he sees, and he just sees like little trees, and then
Yep, yep.
and how many times, I mean, we don't know, it could have been like 10 times that Jesus wiped his
Right,
eyes for him
right,
to truly see.
right.
And that's how I look in my life today, and that just came up to me in my prayer this
That's so
morning. Like,
good.
everything is like, I see Jesus. Oh no, I got to see him more. I got to see him
That's
more.
good.
And I still got to see him more. I still have scales on my eyes at times, as one would say,
Yes,
to really totally see. And I also believe that I won't totally see everything in this life, because there's
no,
that little mystery.
there
And if I
is.
do see everything total, then I'm with him forever. Like, if I see my full picture, my last breath, that's it. I mean, that's what I think, and that's what I believe, and that's what I see. Because there's, in hindsight, God was there with me. And yes, I should have, could have, would have done this. I didn't.
Yep.
I reconcile. I got to walk today in what I see today. And maybe tomorrow I'll see more about my life, or more about other people's life, or it's just, it's being with God and being in today, because that's where God is right now. Right
That's
now,
so
as we're
good.
sharing, He is present with us right now.
Yes.
He's not there 5 minutes from now. He's still not
Yes.
there. He's right now. This is where I have to practice. Say, okay, God, you're with me
And
right
Gina,
now.
we always remember the promise of Scripture is that He is the God of all comfort.
Yeah.
The God of all comfort. By the way, a great book by Hannah Whitall Smith is The God of All Comfort.
Okay.
Wonderful book. She also wrote The Christian Secret of a Happy Life. Two wonderful books. But I think maybe, Gina, we should end it just with this thought that you told us in the beginning from Mother Teresa: dignity to die.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Dignity to die. And she was helping those poorest of the poor in Calcutta, the ones who were probably very often dying alone, and going out and being with them in their pain, or to help feed them a morsel of food, or to help them have dignity to die, of course. And
Yeah.
I think that's a wonderful thing to kind of end on. But Gina, it's been so rich. It's been so rich to talk with you today. Thank you so much for your heart and your ministry. Is there any kind of final words, Gina, that you would leave us with today?
I would just share with people, and don't give up. You have a story. God has a great story for you. And if nobody told you that they love you today, I do, as well as God. So
That's so good. Thank you so much. Gina, how can we reach you? Again, your book is Shake the Dust Off Your Feet and Walk. I love that title. And how can we reach you? I know you do motivational speaking. Obviously,
speaking
you're the end of life doula, but how could people reach you if they want to, Gina?
on my website, it's ginaecon.com. Ginae.com.
GinaEcon.com. We'll put
And
that
of
on
course,
there.
yeah, thank you. And of course, the book is on Amazon. So that's where you'll, very
Perfect.
simple person, just to spread that message of hope and strength.
Thank you so much for being on today. It's been a joy for me to talk with you.
Thank you so much. It's a joy myself. And thank you to all your listeners, and to all those you touch. God bless them.
Thank you. If you enjoyed this podcast, please do us a favor and like, subscribe, and share with others who might need it. And you can find additional resources at SamaritansWell.com.